Breaking news in the case of that high-priced call girl accused of shooting up her client with a dose of deadly heroin. 26-year-old Alix Tichelman was in a California courtroom today. She was arraigned on charges of manslaughter, drug possession, and prostitution. Well, police say that Tichelman was on this yacht, you see it there, that was last November with 51-year-old Google executive Forrest Timothy Hayes. And they say they have surveillance video that shows the whole thing. So at issue today, her plea and the status of her bond. Let's get you right into that courtroom in Santa Cruz County so that you can watch the entire proceeding.
Small matter of people in the state of California versus Alix Tichelman. Counsel can offer their appearances, please. Rafael Vasquez for the people.
Ms. Tichelman is present in custody.
I just received a First Amendment complaint. Ms. Reese, have you received that?
I have, Judge.
Would you like to proceed at this time?
Yes, Your Honor, I looked at the complaint. I'll read formal reading of the complaint and invite Ms. Wright. At this time, the representative is not guilty. Time is waived. I request a setting date on October 15th.
Ms. Tichelman, do you understand that you have a right to have your preliminary examination take place within 10 court days and no later than 60 calendar days?
Yes, sir.
Are you willing to waive that right?
Yes.
I'll note for the record of knowing, intelligent, voluntary waiver of that right. You were in perhaps on October 20th.
I believe we agreed to October 20th, Your Honor.
Yes, I apologize.
That's all right. October 20th at 8:15 for setting of the preliminary examination. Ms. Tichelman is ordered personally present at that time. I also received a notice of motion and motion for release on own recognizance or bail reduction. I'll represent the counsel and Ms. Tichelman that I have reviewed that motion. I reviewed the statutory and case law authority regarding that issue. As to the OR release, factors that the court is allowed to look at regarding an OR release include the maximum potential sentence, the ties to the community, the danger to others, and the probability of the defendant returning to court for future appearances. The court just received the First Amendment complaint. Based on the original complaint, the court found that the maximum potential sentence, discounting the charged misdemeanors and not taking into account any Penal Code Section 654 issues, was in excess of 15 years. From the court's perspective, based on my review of the file, my review of the pleadings, the court was not impressed with the defendant's alleged ties to the community, and the court possesses distinct concerns over the probability of the defendant returning for future court appearances. My tentative ruling was to deny the defendant's release on her own recognizance. As to the motion, or the aspect of the motion that relates to the request to reduce bail, the court agrees with the moving party that the defendant is legally entitled to the setting of bail. That's on page 6, lines 4 and 5 of the motion. Bail has previously been set at $1.5 million. When setting bail, the court focuses upon the seriousness of the charged offenses, the prior record of the defendant, and the defendant's probability of returning to court for future appearances. That's based on page 7, lines 9 through 13 of the moving papers. The court agrees with the moving party that a review of the individual facts of this case should be performed in setting bail. That's pursuant to page 8, lines 12 and 13 of the moving papers. Focusing upon this case, the charged offenses are indeed serious. The court has already indicated its concern over the defendant's probability of returning to court for future appearances, and I would describe that at this point as uncertain. And while the defendant's criminal history as presently known is relatively benign, the tentative ruling in balancing all of these factors is to deny the motion to reduce bail and to retain bail at $1.5 million. Ms. Tichelman, I'll represent to you and counsel that I have read the motion prepared on your behalf in its entirety. I've reviewed the case law and statutory authority regarding these issues. But Ms. Reese, if there's anything else you'd like to add for the record, I'm happy to hear it at this time.
Your Honor, I would just like to note to the court's information, Ms. Tichelman's family is present in court, both her parents, Bart and Marcelette, and including her sister. As stated in the moving papers, they are willing and prepared to provide for their stable residence during the pendency of this case, as well as ensure that she returns to court for any future court dates. Ms. Tichelman, furthermore, is willing to abide by any conditions of OR or bail the court will incline to impose, such as to monitor random drug testing and daily check-ins with supervised pre-trial services.
Thank you very much. Where are the parents? Thank you very much for being here today. Anything further from the people's perspective?
Your Honor.
The court will adopt its tentative ruling and deny the motion for Ms. Tichelman's release on her own recognizance and deny the motion as to a bail reduction. Bail will remain at $1.5 million. Our next court hearing will be on October 20th at 8:15 for the setting of the preliminary examination. Anything further from the people's perspective?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Ms. Reese.
No.
I'll look forward to working with counsel again. Thank you very much.
So you see the Tichelman hearing there, and the judge being very thorough, breaking down entirely what his decision is and the justification for why he's making the decision on bail. And so Lonnie Coombs, Mike Brooks, let's talk about this for a minute. Lonnie, I'm pretty impressed. He gave a record justifying why he did what he did.
Yeah, this is a great judge. Look, you have to justify it, otherwise it can be appealed. And a $1.5 million bail is high for the charges as they stand right now. We know there might be a murder charge later. So he laid out she's a flight risk, she's got money, she has ties to Georgia. She might take off, and that would be bad for everybody. So we can justify this 1.5 bail.
Absolutely. And Mike, to Lonnie's point, I mean, the investigation, of course, is ongoing. Apparently the judge impressed about the facts and circumstances now enough to justify that $1.5 million because people like you are going to continue to investigate.
And I think also because they do have videotape evidence in this particular case of what she actually or allegedly did in this particular case. I think that really played into the 1.5 million and no reduction.
Oh, yeah. And that video, that's going to be key to this case.
Yeah.
We're going to be following that closely. So after the hearing, Tichelman's attorney spoke for the first time. And you know what? He was urging the public not to rush to judgment. Take a look at this.
To demonize and sensationalize and totally blame Alix Tichelman for his death is misplaced, unfair, and simply wrong. This case is about two adults who were engaged in mutual consensual drug usage in the context of a sexual encounter initiated and encouraged by Mr. Hayes.